So have you ever heard of a wildly popular MMO that has a free trial up to level 60 that includes the Heavensward expansion?
Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Okay, so the first thing that you put here is my updated thoughts.
Yep.
My updated thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV.
Do you have those? We're on this, by the way.
Well, I mean,
All right.
I'll swap it over to the main camera, I guess.
Okay, sure.
And off we go. My updated thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV. Let's fucking do it. So, where we last left off from last week's stream was I had on my Archer character just completed Gridania. I had hit level 18, and I'd seen a cutscene that was basically before they were going to send me off into the wider world. And the way that it basically works overall structurally is of Eorzea, which is like the continent you're on, there seem to be 3 major allied factions, which is Gridania, the pirate people, and the Sultanate. I've forgotten the name of the other 2.
I actually don't remember their proper full names. I remember the Grand Company names, the Immortal Flames, the Order of the Twin Adder, and the Maelstrom. But I don't remember the actual country names.
Whoops. But those are your sort of 3 countries.
Yep.
And my past experience had basically been, it was initially quite jarring, some of the quirks of FF14. I got over those. The story was slow at the start, but it came together kind of satisfyingly, even though it all did feel a bit more low stakes. But I was basically a happy camper, and I was kind of... Was it your appetite is whetted? What's the turn of phrase? Whet my appetite? Is that even a turn of phrase?
WHED, wet.
Yes.
To whet one's appetite is to prepare the appetite.
Cool. Well, yes, the game successfully did that for me. So that's where we leave off. To pick it up then, I've not actually played that much because a bunch of other stuff came up, but what I have played has been important stuff. So I left Gridania on an airship. The character that had sort of, spurred me onto my initial journey kind of was like, all right, you've done well, kid, off you go. So I go to those 2 places on my airship, and there's actually loads of cutscenes and stuff. There's a cutscene where they show some of the characters who kind of look like faction leaders to me. I don't know, maybe they're scions or maybe they're something, but they were important in the sort of final fight before, the moon. Like the moon kind of blew up and a dragon came out of it and it kind of reset the world or some crazy stuff. When the evil Garland or whatever they're called Empire was invading or something. But they kind of showed that cinematic, and then I ended up visiting characters from that cinematic. And it's the sort of thing where in WoW it would just be like, oh yeah, gotta go here, click in that NPC, click accept quest, click, read the thing, click the dialogue, done, go to the next one, do that, done, go back. And I'd be like, oh my god, these are all just boring, walk here, do that, fetch quests. But what was actually different is that they had established me quite well as a character in that world. And, I was... So I felt like, okay, I am this character. I have had these conversations with these people in this world because of how the dialogue in that game is framed as dialogue, not just walls of quest text. So I thought that was, just got me more, more immersed with my character. And then it's if I'm super immersed with my character, then I don't mind having that more sort of walking and talking and exploring the world, that kind of world building-ish content. So yeah, I first went to the pirate city. I talked to the guy there. He then sent me in an airship, or she even sent me in an airship to the Sultanate, and I talked to the big buff dude. Who seems to lead them, and the FF people seem to like him a lot.
Raban's a great character.
Yeah. So, I was doing that, and it was that thing where, as I was doing that, I was talking to those characters, and I was, learning little bits of history of their peoples and what they had done. And honestly, it came together, and I was like, cool, I'm excited. So they're doing this thing where they're teasing the what are they called? Garland Empire? Garlean. So the Garlean Empire, they use this Magitech, I think they call it.
Yep.
Which does make them kind of look like the big evil empire, which I guess they are. So they've done that thing where those characters, they established them being worried about the Garlean Empire as a looming threat over the world. And so I'd learned about that. I'd learned about these characters, seemingly in a context where these are characters I'm going to get to know quite a bit, that my character will actually have a relationship with. So I felt quite good about all of that. And then they sent me back to the pirate city, where I had a quest to basically help them out dealing with a local problem, which involved doing my first dungeon in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was all interesting because, number one, the pirate city is fucking hard to navigate initially, but it is cool. And it's really funny because it's not like graphical fidelity wise, it looks incredible and it has these massive like vistas or whatever. I mean, it sort of does, but it still looks a bit jank because it's FF14 and it looks like FF14. But it was like how novel that city was and just how cool its fantasy was and all of that, that I was initially like, oh, wow. It was like, I went to a new level of the city, I turned my camera, and it wasn't like I was sitting there wowed at the visuals, but I was like wowed at the thing I saw in the world, which I guess is whenever a game has successfully captured your imagination.
That's a fairly big distinction between being wowed by the visuals and wowed by what it is.
Yeah. So then I went from that to doing our first dungeon. And what was funny with the dungeon is it was an early MMO dungeon, so I obviously don't really expect much. And there was basically no mechanics. It was just pull lots of trash fast, kill all of said trash. Now, I did get the feeling that it was a more exploratory and interesting dungeon at its core than what I experienced, because I think by this stage, people just like, they know the route through that pirate dungeon, and you sort of do it and you're done. It had a little bit of a twist, I guess, at the end, sort of narratively, that was kind of neat. So it's that thing where, as an actual bit of dungeoning gameplay, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh wow, this was an amazing dungeon, I had so much fun. It was a fine dungeon, but I had quite a lot of fun doing it because I just felt like I was kind of there for the journey because of all those things that I've just said. And then what struck me as being really cool about doing that dungeon is you were able to join me. At the time I was level 19, and this is, I guess, one of the cool things about this game. So I guess my side is I'm a newbie level 18 archer, need to do this dungeon for a quest that is a part of the main scenario quest, so I have to do it. I guess then you come in, so...
Yeah, so obviously at the minute, I'm like item level 517, 513, something like that, where I'm fairly endgame geared in my level 80 bard, done a lot of shit, but I was actually working on this document here for the stream. You were like, oh, you said something with Duty Finder or you're going to Sastasha, and I went, sure, I'll log in. And I logged in on this MacBook, actually. It survived the journey. Decided, I've got a level 50 White Mage, so I'll just swap over to White Mage and queue with you. And there we hopped in. It wasn't even like roulette leveling, because it was the only dungeon you had. So it's the only thing we could queue for. So I went in, healed it. There was another tank, another DPS. I got a level. I got 15% of a level from XP. You got 2 levels from it. And it was just, I was there to hop into the queue to make the queue quick.
Yeah.
And it's just because I can do it.
Yeah, it was cool how the game let you help me out, but also you could get those levels for doing that. And I guess it's the sort of thing where, it's cool. Like, World of Warcraft has got party sync, and I think you could party sync down to my level, and we could do a leveling dungeon together.
Yeah.
I think with this and FF, it was just that because you have multiple jobs in your character, and then your jobs are leveled specifically, it kind of solves so much of the alt friendliness problem, and it just kind of meant that you were so rapidly able to go and help me out. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. You got some levels out of it as well. So yeah, it seems like that's the game's worst dungeon, but it all sort of fit in pretty decently.
Definitely not the worst dungeon.
Okay, not the worst dungeon. People are saying it's a bit of a snooze fest.
It is. It's just because it's level 16, so when you're synced down, and someone said, was it like he was a carry? No, it's actually not. It synced my level down to the max level of the dungeon, which is 18.
Yeah.
So you were actually 19 at the time, and it synced you to 18.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was 50. It synced me down to 18, so I only had a couple of abilities, and I was properly, appropriately leveled for it. And then I also got XP that went towards my overall level as well, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so that all just worked. That was fun. And, well, now I'm going back to Britannia to continue my questing there. But they've done a pretty decent job, and in my head, I know there are overarching threats that are kind of interesting. That I'm sort of, I feel like, okay, it's going to be really cool whenever that bit comes in. So yeah, so far I have liked what I've seen of characters. I've liked how they've done world building. It's definitely more of a slow burn, but this is me at the start of A Realm Reborn. It's going to pick up quite a bit in the expansions from what I hear, but already I'm decently in there in A Realm Reborn. It's, it's not painful in the way that I thought it could have been. I was genuine, and maybe it's because my expectations the way they were. I was genuinely expecting a big horrible slog, but no, so far it's been like all quite good, but with this promise of how incredible it very much seems to be once you get up to the higher like the expansions and those storylines. But it's even just like little things, they can do their little cutscenes, the camera can move, show a character talking, and it all just feels more integrated than that similar stuff does in WoW, So I really think, yeah, I'm having fun so far. I'm in.
Beautiful. I think that's what everyone wanted to hear.
I think it might be what they wanted to hear. Yeah, and it's, yeah, I mean, I'm in. That's what I can say. I'm enjoying the level up process so far. I want to learn more about this world and its peoples. Go to new places, do new things, see what this Guardian Empire is all about. Cool. And it's the sort of thing I've been enjoying, just being there in that world, even in times where almost especially in times where it's not been combat based. I've actually just enjoyed going about the place, doing things, learning about the world. They've set it all up well, and I feel like I'm quite well integrated with who my character is, because I feel like I'm meeting that world in a similar way to how my character is, I guess. And it feels like a reasonable fantasy universe with its own internally consistent rules and things.
It is.
It feels quite different to how, I hit the Shadowlands and I'm like, oh, okay, so here's, the 4 themes of the theme park. All sort of, a little bit bluntly done. Whereas here it feels, and I mean, that's a Shadowlands specific criticism. It doesn't really apply to past stuff in WoW. Yeah, it's worked on a world building level, I guess. And that's quite big for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It expands on the rules of the universe as time goes on, but it doesn't break them in any sense. Especially if you're paying attention. I can see a lot of people getting to Shadowbringers and being or to a certain part in Heavenward's patch content and going, what in the fuck is going on here? But it's all stuff that's explained to you and stuff that will be explained later. So there's ever a point where you're going, what's going on? It's like you can have faith that it actually that will be capitalized on further down the road in some capacity, which really means you have to have your brain on, remember everything you're told, or at least have someone who remembers it all, like Matt from our Discord, who you hit him any question, he's got the answer right away. He's don't know what to call him outside of a genius FF hero.